That's right. Mom had to have wings, right? And those are horrible dragon wings. So then the father, though, if you look at him, they tell you this. Where am I getting this information here?
And then it says he has no wings and short buds.
And the father has homozygous recessive for no wings and little h. So small horns, no wings. Dad has little horns. It actually looks better than my other drone, but so little horns and no wings. So there, I've done what they've asked, right? What phenotypic traits will each parent have? So the phenotypic trait that they would have is wings. Well, I should write it just to be clear so I don't wings, big horn for mom, and no wings, small horn for dad. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
All right. So when we're talking about and draw the appropriate phenotype characteristics on each one, there's the drawing, right? There it is. So that's all there was to that first part. So now, exactly what we just talked about, these chromosomes are going to move together. Do you see that? This is big W. Now remember, they're only putting one big W here, but you have to try to remember that the other big W is there as well. This is, let's take a look at what they're talking about here. Could you read this paragraph for me, one of you two?
Yeah, sure.
Start here, draw.
Draw a Punnett square to show the inheritance of the horn alleles for mating between mother and father.
All right, so,
average,
oh wait, hold on. Let's just do that. And at this point, this is another thing that people had to do. And I had students who said, well, I don't see any questions. I'm like, really? Because it says right there, draw. And so then I would expect someone to draw, right? If it says draw, I'd expect someone to draw. I don't know why this is. So draw the Punnett square. So at this point, what I would expect is they're talking about little horns, right? And mom had what? What did mom have?
Mom had wings and big horn.
So mom had, well, what is it asking? Alleles for what? You read for what? What alleles?
Mom and dad.
For what alleles? For horns. They didn't ask anything about wings. You have to be very specific. It's telling you horns. So at this point, for this part of the project, the only thing it's asking me is about horns. So now, mom is heterozygous. Is that correct? For horns. And dad is homozygous for horns. Am I right?
Yes.
All right. So so mom is heterozygous for horns, and dad is homozygous recessive for horns. So drawing it out, I would write big H, little h for mom. Again, forgive the messiness. And little h for dad. And what I get is this. Do you agree?
Yes.
What's the genotypic ratios?
1 to 2.
It's 1 to 1, right?
Oh yeah.
One. It's 2 to 2, but 2 to 2 can be reduced to 1 to 1.
1 to 1, yeah.
1 to 1, big H, and versus little h, little h. What about phenotypic ratios? What kind of phenotypic ratios am I dealing with here? Well, what kind? Somebody tell me something. I can't hear anybody. I don't know what's going on.
Kirsten said, "Is it still 1-to-1?"
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Absolutely right. It's still 1-to-1. It's one big horn to one small horn. It's not always the same, as we know when we looked at the others at that big dihybrid cross we looked at earlier. But for this one gene, you can see this would be the answer to that particular question. You all agree on that?
Yes.
So this, let me, so to answer on average what fraction, so it says draw the Punnett square, then it says on average what fraction of baby dragons will have big horns, predictions, inheritance, etc. Predictions of inheritance of two genes on. Wait, what is this? Go ahead and read that, please. I can't. Mohammed, this is going to take forever if you guys are going to not respond quickly. On average,
what fraction of the baby dragon will have big horns? Predictions of inheritance of two genes on different chromosomes.
so what fraction of baby dragons will have big horns?
50.
50%. 1 out of 2. 50%. We're all in agreement on that?
Yeah.
Nobody has a problem with that? Okay.
No.
All right. So then the next thing is, let me move this over here. The next thing is, go ahead and read the next one. What does it say?
Two. Or do you want to read?
Oh no, my bad. Go ahead.
To predict the inheritance of the wing and horn genes, you first need to determine the genotypes of the egg produced by the heterozygous mother dragon and the sperm produced by the homozygous father dragon. Considering both of the wing and horn genes, what different genotypes of eggs could the heterozygous mother dragon produce? Use the figures below to answer this question.
So basically, they're trying to make you do a dihybrid cross, and we came up with the shorthand of using foil, right? We came up with the shorthand of using foil. Why is this? I don't understand why it just groups things when I haven't grouped them, and yet it groups them. I don't get it. So it's asking you to do foil, but they're going to do it longhand so you can see it. Remember, by foil, they said heterozygous mother, big H, what is it, W first and then H, is that right? Big W, big H, little h, is crossed with a dad who's little w, little h, right? That's what, so in order to do foil for the mother, when you do foil for the mother, you're going to go boom, 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 and boom, right? So mom can produce four different uh, zygotes, or I'm sorry, not zygotes, but eggs, right? What are the four different eggs that mom can produce? Mom can produce big W, big H, that's one. Mom can produce big W, little h. Mom can produce little w, big H. And mom can produce, what's the last one?
Big W, big H, little W, what is it? Little W, little H? Yeah, that'd be the last one.
Little w, little h. So those are the four that mom can produce. So that's it. That's what we're talking about here. So when we're looking at, that's all they're trying to do with this. They're trying to show you why that's the case. Is that clear? we did it with math, and if you see Dad, the only thing Dad can make is little w, little h. That's it. All right. So if we go ahead and look at what are the different kinds of gametes, I gotta try to do. It did it again, I think. All right. So now, what are the different kinds of gametes that this baby could produce? This person could produce. Well, remembering that you got a big W on each of these, right? On each of these, this is why they left it off. You see, you got to remember that these are copies, and so you have a big W there. You also have a big W here, and you have a little w over here, so you have a little w over here as well. You have a big H here, and over here you have a little h, correct? So these two are together. They're copies of one another. This is little w, this is little w, this is big W, this is big W. You got to remember that. So one thing that could happen is that you could get the big W coming over here and the big H coming over here. Then the little w goes over here and the little h comes over here. So then remembering again that these are both big W and big H, right? And then there are two copies here because you're still dealing with, this is little w here and this is little h here, right? Now when you separate them, you're going to get, in this one, you're going to get one possible outcome, which is, oh, come on, man. One possible outcome, which is big W. You can have big H. You can have big W here. You can have big H here. You can have little w here, and you can have little h here. You can have little w here, and you can have little h here. Do you see that? Yes?
Yeah, Mendoza.
And you see these two are the same?
Yeah.
You see these two are the same?
Yeah, they're just split up.
But they're the same. They're the same. See, you have little w, little h, little w. So how many different kinds of eggs could she make? She can make one type of egg that's big W, big H. She can make another type of egg that has little w, little h. Since their independent assortment is possible, it is also possible that because it's random and because they're not dependent on each other, you can get the big W, big H going into one, or you can get the big W, little h going into one. So now if you get big W, little h going into one and little w, big H going into the other, then it's possible that you get a big W here and a big W here and a little h here and a little h here and a little w here and a big H here and a little w here and a big H here, so that what you end up with is these two possible genotypes, right? Which would be big W, little h, and I hope you see that they're the same, right? Both of these are big W, little h. And then the other one is going to be little w, big H, correct? Yes or no?
Yeah, so it's just all random.
Right. Well, yeah, it's random, but pay attention. You can have big W, big H, little w, little h, big W, little h, or little w, big H. Where did we see these possible combinations before? Where have we seen that before? Where have we seen that before?
When we did the foiling.
When we just did the FOIL. So FOIL is just a quick way of finding the various types of different outcomes that can come from this law of independent assortment. The idea that these chromosomes separate independent of one another, and it's all random where they end up going. So those are the different kinds of, and so you could have easily done FOIL. So let me go ahead and do FOIL here. Big W, big H, little h. So you can go, big W can go with big H. So you can have one that's big W, big H. You can have big W going with little h. So you can have big W, little h. or you can have little w going with big H. You can have little w, big H, or you can have what's the other option here? Let me try to find a different color.
Little W, little H.
Yeah, you can have I just do black, I guess. Yeah, little w, little h, so that's little w, little h. So you got these four possible eggs that are exactly what you saw happen here. That's where they made you do this so you can see where this comes from. These various independent, random as possible outcomes are possible because of the law of independent assortment. Homologs separate first, and then the sister chromatids separate. All right, what genotypes or genotype of sperm can homozygous father make? Now, this we don't even have to do FOIL for, because how many different kinds of sperm can he make? He can only make one kind. Little w, little w, little h. That's all you can make. Little w, little w, little h. That's it. That's all you can make. Draw a diagram of how meiosis would occur if the father, starting with diploid, were ready to undergo meiosis 1 at the ending of 4 haploid sperm. Draw a diagram and to show how meiosis would occur in the father, starting with a diploid cell ready to undergo meiosis 1 and ending with 4 haploid sperm. So they basically want you to do what they did here. Did you do that? Did you both do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see if you did what I did. What would you do? Tell me what to do first. We're starting with 1.
I put the little W and then I put the little H because we're doing it for the father, right?
Little
So you
w
got
and little
yeah,
like this?
no, yeah. But like I put them like first I put them next to each other
Like
because
this?
yeah, exactly.
Is
And
that it?
I put them double for each one.
So you did double. Good. That's what I was looking for. So you did double for each one.
Uh-huh.
But they're all little w, right?
Yeah, of course. Because they're all homozygous recessive.
Right. So that's all you got. And there's copies, right? These are the copies here. I'm going to go ahead and put you copied
And
them.
then instead of putting W next to the first, put that's H on the right next to it.
Right. So then over here you're going to do H's.
Exactly. Oh
With
wait, no. What I'm saying is, it's little w on the top left, and little h on the top right, and then again little w on the bottom left, and then little h on the bottom right. Because if we're doing it like they did it, that's what it would look like.
no. So the first step you have to remember that so this is good that you said that because this is a tetrad. They form tetrads first. The homologous chromosomes line up with each other. And then the other homologous chromosomes, the other tetrad are the H tetrads. There's a W tetrad and an H tetrad. Remember that. Remember that the W's line up with each other in meiosis part 1. Has the tetrads form tetrads. And that's when crossing over would occur, but that's the first step is they line up this way after S phase. Are we clear? So this is what happens before meiosis part 1. The chromosomes condense and then the tetrads eventually will line up. So then you're going to split the cell, correct? Correct?
Yeah.
All right. So then what happens next?
I don't know, Kirsten, you want to answer this?
I want you, Mohammed. I want you to say it.
Oh, right now what you do is you do like the little the single ones, and you bring down a W, a little W, and then you also bring down a little H.
So like this.
Yeah, I think so.
No, that would
Wait,
be
no,
wrong.
no, You gotta double them up.
Yeah, that's right.
You gotta double them up. Now instead of having 4, you only have 2 in each one.
That's right. That's right. So you're separating the homologs. Remember, that's what's happening. That's what's happening here. You're separating the homologs. One W and one H chromosome in each one. In this case, they're all the same, right? Correct?
Yes.
So at the end of meiosis 1, what you have are 2 cells with 2 nuclei that have one copy of each homologous chromosome, but 2 sister chromatids. So they're still 2N. They're still 2N. They start off 2N, right? Double the number of chromosomes. But you still, if you include the sister chromatids, there's still 2N in the copies of DNA, right? If you did the copies of DNA, that wouldn't be 2N, that would be 4, right? There'd be actually 4N, right? But let's not worry about that. But there's 2 chromosomes here. Here there's only 1 chromosome, but there's 4 copies. Are we all good with that?
Yeah.
So here's 2 copies of DNA. Here you have 4 copies of DNA. Here you have 2 copies of DNA. Remember, that's meiosis, right? And then each of these is going to splitting meiosis part 2. And what are you going to get in each of these?
Yeah.
What are you going to get in each of these?
Oh, you're gonna get one little W, one little H, one little W, one little H, one little. Go same thing.
That's right. And so all of these only have one type of gene, and one genotype. All of his sperm, right? All of this father's sperm are going to be what?
Homozygous recessive WH.
So little w, little h. It's all he can make. Those are the only types of sperm he can make.
So not like any possible chance he can make a big W, little h, or something like that.
Did he ever have big W?
No, he never did. But
so then, how's he ever? I mean, what could possibly allow him to have a big W? If he doesn't have it, he can't give it.
Yeah, he can't.
He can't give it unless he has it.
If he mated with a female dragon.
Well, if he mates with a female dragon who has a big H, which you're going to see happen here, then it's possible that one of his children could have a big H. But he didn't get that big H or that big W from him. That baby got the big H or big W from mom. So when you're looking, this is all he has to give. That's it. That's all he has. There's no more. Mom has much more genetic variation, so she has a lot more she could give. No guarantees that she'll give it, but she could give any of those. Where dad can only give little w and little h. That's all he has to give. Now, is it possible that there could be a mutation? Yes. And if there's a mutation, it could form a little w or a little h. That's true. But that mutation, when that happens, it's rare, and we're not going to worry about that when we're talking about these percentages. We're going to ask the question, what could this father give? And we're not going to even we haven't even talked about crossing over, right? But even if they crossed over, as far as these genes are concerned, the crossing over wouldn't matter, would it? Because he just would exchange little w with little w and little h with little h. See, crossing over happens with the tetrad, with the homologous chromosome. So if H gets switched with little h gets switched with little h, there's no difference. Little w's get switched with little w, there's no difference, right? Yes? No? Maybe? Yeah. Okay. So we just did that. That's how you answer this question here, right? If I can get this thing to work, it's stalling for some reason. Okay, I have to get a new iPad. It's really sad. It's too much money to be buying these things. All right, so, and of course, it says to draw it, and we just did it, and that's what we just drew. And it said to draw. It's going to be a lot easier in drawing this one. They drew the hard one for you, and obviously that's this drawing we just did. So let's move on to the next page. Then it says the next step. You go ahead and read that, Mohammed, please.
All right. The next step in predicting the inheritance of the wing and horn genes is to predict the outcome of fertilization between the eggs and sperm. In the following chart, label the gene on the chromosome in each type of zygote that could be produced by mating between the mother and the father. Then fill in the genotype of the baby dragons that result from each zygote and sketch in the characteristics of the baby dragon to show the phenotype for each genotype. Couldn't read it from me.
All right, so what do they mean by all that? Can you explain in your own words?
So pretty much they want us to because pretty much it just looks like a Punnett square, and they just want us to they pretty much want us to label what the 4 baby dragons would look like if the parents mated and the eggs, the sperm cells got together.
So there's only one type of a parent here, right? The father's only one type. It can only give little w, little h. The mom can give any one of these, and we just did all the math up above on the previous page, right? So, and you're right. This is a Punnett square. This is a dihybrid cross. This is a dihybrid cross with just this. That's all there is to it. Little w, big W, little w, little h, uh, little w, big H, little h, uh, big W, little h, big W, little big H, little h, right? Correct?
Yes.
And so the genotype here would be big W, little h, big little w, big H, big W, little h, and little w, or big W, big H, little h. This creature would have wings. This creature.
Hold on. The first one shouldn't it be little w, little w?
Oh, you're right. That's my bad.
I'm about to say.
Yeah, you were correct on that one. I misread. See, I hate W's for this work. There's there's just so, yeah, these letters, they should be much more careful. They should never use W and other letters like W that just
like the letter A, you can obviously tell the difference.
exactly. That's how I feel about it. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So these two don't have wings. First two don't have wings. The second two do have wings. So these two do have wings, right? And then the first one has little horns, correct? And the second one has big horns. And the third one has little horns. And the fourth one has big horns. So you get 4 different dragons, right? One set of parents whose babies all look different. Wings with big horns, wings with little horns, big horns no wings, and little horn no wings. So these are the possible outcomes. Is that what you have in your drawings? Something like that? Yes? Yeah. Okay. So this type of mating involving 2 different genes, blah blah blah, and here's the Punnett square for all 4. Here's the Punnett square for what would happen if you did all 4. If you list, now you don't need to do all 4, right? I told you all you really need to do is one row because the percentages are going to be the same, right? It's 4 out of 16 will be this, but 4 out of 16 is the same as saying 1 out of 4, correct? So these two numbers, 4 out of 16, is equal to 1 out of 4, right? Those numbers are equal. Do you agree those fractions are equal? we can reduce this by dividing both of these by 4 and get 1 out of 4. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about ratio, when we're saying ratios, the ratio is going to be the same. So just consider that. But that's only because these are all the same here. You see that? That's only because these 4. Why are you not working? Hello. These are all the same here. These 4. The father can only make one type of genotype. So you could just do 1 row and forget about these and get the same ratios. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If it doesn't make sense, you guys got to talk to me. Tell me. All right, considering the only baby dragon with wings, what fraction do you expect? Considering only the baby dragon with wings, only the ones with wings, which 2 have wings?
The last 2.
The last 2. What fraction do you expect to have big horns of those last 2?
Half.
1/2. 1 out of 2. All right. So again, you can do the math, or you can count them. You can go ahead and say 1 out of 2. You can go ahead and say, all right, you say wings with big horns. These are all small horn. There's wings. These are all wings that have big horns. So 4 out of 16, 4 out of 16, or not. It's not out of 16. It's because you're only considering these 2, right? So 4 out of 8, 4 out of 8. Only 4 out of 8 have wings with big horns. So 4 out of 8 is equal to 1 out of 2. Correct?
Yeah.
All right. So you could do it this way, or you could just do it this way, whichever. This is the same as having a 1-row Punnett square. This is a 4-row Punnett square. You just don't need this other stuff if you don't have to do it. As long as all 4 of these are the same, you only have to do 1 row. All right, considering only the baby dragons without wings, what fraction do you expect to have big horns? 1/2, exactly. And next, do you expect that baby dragons with wings and without wings will be equally likely to have big horns?
Yes.
Yes. To test whether baby dragons with wings or baby dragons without wings will equally have big horns, we will carry out a simulation uh, of the simultaneous inheritance of the genes for wings and horns. Since the father is homozygous, little w, little h, you know that all the father's sperm will be little w, little h. Therefore, to determine the genetic makeup of each baby dragon produced in your simulation, you will only need to determine the genetic makeup of the egg is fertilized to become the zygote that develops into the baby dragon. During meiosis, each egg randomly receives one of each pair of homologous chromosomes. Your simulation will mimic this process. All right, so let's go ahead to the simulation. Let's look at page 3. So you go ahead and read that paragraph, please. And Kirsten, why don't you read it for me?
Okay. Can you zoom in a little bit? For the simulation, each of the mother's pairs of homologous chromosomes will be represented by a popsicle stick with the genes of one chromosome shown on one side and genes of the other homologous chromosome shown on the other side. Since the mother dragon is heterozygous for both genes, you will have one popsicle stick representing a pair of homologous chromosomes which are heterozygous for the wing gene, big W, little w, and another popsicle stick representing a pair of homologous chromosomes which are heterozygous for the horn gene, big H, little h.
So homologous chromosomes, you're gonna have this. You're gonna have this popsicle stick, and you guys got your popsicle sticks, right?
I did it with the spinner.
You can do it with a spinner. Honestly, this is just trying to get you.
I didn't do a popsicle stick. I just wrote them down on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I just hope you get the idea though, right? So you got the point. It doesn't matter as long as you write it down. So you're gonna have a W. You have big W on one side, and on the other side of this, you're gonna have little W. And then on the other chromosome, you're gonna have a big H on one side, and on the other side, you're gonna have little h. If you were in class, none of you are in class, so we're not doing it. But yeah, you could use a piece of paper, you could use a coin, you could use a spinner, whatever it is you want to do to decide which one is going to get inherited by the baby. So what I like about this simulation using popsicle sticks is that, remember, the chromosomes are moving as a unit, and this idea of having them on one unit really gets that into your head. And since these two would they form a tetrad, right? You have big W or little W. Uh, it really works out well if you use a popsicle stick for imagination's sake, anyways. So could you read the second paragraph there, Kirsten?
Hold one popsicle stick in each hand about 6 inches above the desk. Hold each popsicle stick horizontally with one side facing towards you and the others facing away, with one edge of the popsicle stick on the bottom and the other edge on the top. The two popsicle sticks should be lined up end to end, simulating the way pairs of homologous
Homologous chromosomes. All right, so wait, let's stop, pause for a minute. Let's review what homologous is. I know you probably already know this, but I just wanted you to get this idea in your head. Homologous chromosomes are when you have big W, and then you have them lined up with little w, little w. All right. Let me make this obvious. Big W, and little w, little w. These form a tetrad, correct? These are homologous. Why are they homologous? They have the same genes, but they're different alleles. One set is little and the other set is big. Understood? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And then the other one, the other pair of homologous chromosomes are big H and little h and little h. And that's another set of chromosomes. These are also homologous. They have the same genes, they just have different alleles. So we're representing this with big W on one side, little w on the other, because you only got two options. Either it's going to give you the big W or it's going to give you the little w. This is only going to give you the big H or the little h. It's the only options. Again, we're not dealing with crossing over in this activity. All right, so you went ahead and did it. Either you used a piece of paper or you used a spinner or you did something. How many of the little w, little h did you get?
I got one.
You got one. Mohammed, what'd you get?
I got one too.
And little w, big H, how many did you get? Little w, big H, little h, how many did you get?
I didn't get it.
All right, so you got 0 there. And then big W, little h, how many did you get there? One. And big W, big H?
I think I got either one or none. I'm not sure. Hold on.
How many did you get?
2.
You got 2. So
I think I only got one. And those either.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how you guys were you supposed to do it 4 times?
Yeah. It's a repeat 3 more times.
Oh, you went on to the next step already. I see. You answered this step already. Okay, so you did it 4 times. Excellent. I'm used to doing things one step at a time, but that's fine. You jumped ahead. So you did it 4 times, and that's the results you got, right? And now, what would you expect if we had class data, right? If the data from all the baby dragons, from all the students in the chart. So we'd have to get all the different genotypes, right? So the genotype, how many of the babies would have this genotype versus this genotype versus this genotype versus this genotype, and we'd have to count up all that data. All right, so because we don't have that data right now, and we'll get it in just a minute when we meet up as a class, can I ask you something? What would you expect as you increase more and more trials? As we continuously increase more and more, we do this more and more. What do you think we should be getting closer to?
I don't know about closer to, but those numbers should be getting higher.
Which numbers? Would you? It's all random. Would you expect to get some of these?
Yeah, definitely.
Would you expect to get more of any one of these possible combinations than any other? No, you'd expect to get 1/4 each, right? Eventually, after some kind of infinite number of trials, so let's say after a couple million, after a couple 100 million, you should get closer and closer to 1/4, or 25%. So 1/4 for each. That would be ideally, right? If we just did pure math, this is the odds of getting any of these, and the more you do it, the more likely you are to get close to 25%. Will you ever get to 25%? Maybe, but the point is that the more you do it, the closer and closer you get to this distribution of events. Any one, you could end up with 0, 1, 2, right? But if they're not linked, if it's random, eventually, if you did a million of these, crosses, you'd get closer and closer to 1/4 or 1/4 each. My guess is when we get together as a class that if everyone's doing the numbers, if everyone's doing it honestly and correctly, we should be closer to 1/4 than we do here, than we are with this event. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's about randomness. So do any of the baby dragons with wings have small horns? Winged babies with small, do any of them have, are there any winged babies with small horns?
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be. Eventually there will be. Even if you personally didn't get any, eventually there will be, yes. All right. Does either parent have the combination of wings with small horns?
Yeah. Oh, you said wings with small. Well, how? Well, the previous one said will there, so.
Well, no. It says, do any of the baby dragons have wings with small horns? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Do either the parents have wings with small horns?
No.
No. So how did the new combination of characteristics, wings with small horns, come up? If neither parents have wings with small horns, how do you get a baby that has wings with small horns?
When they like.
So here you have to explain what happens during meiosis and fertilization. You have to explain in your own words, right, what it means to inherit a gene. By the way, this explains how you can have 2 people with brown eyes giving you a baby with blue eyes, right? Because the genes for wings and the genes for small horns are recessive. The mother's heterozygote, so the father can give the genes for no wings and no horn and small horns, and mom can give the genes for wings and small horns, and you can get a homozygous recessive baby dragon with no wings and small horn. So you have to describe everything I just got done describing. I just did it for you, right? You have to put that answer in your own words. Are we clear on what you have to do here?
Yep.
And it says to you, you have to use the word fertilization, events during meiosis. Now I did all that for you. We did it together, but I'd like to hear it in your own words. All right. Let's. Oh, this thing is really. It's overheating too. I hope it doesn't start burning up.
What, the iPad?
Yeah. I don't want to. If you hear me screaming and it goes quiet, it's because I'm panicking over here. All right, so on page 3, you'll need the understanding of meiosis and fertilization to predict whether baby dragons with wings and without wings would be equally likely to have big horns. Baby dragons without wings and with wings, would they be equally likely to have big horns? Baby dragons without wings and with wings. Are they equally likely to have? You had to do that on page 3, correct? Didn't you have to predict? Should I go back? You want to go look at page 3 again? I'm sorry. You predicted. Didn't you predict it?
I'd say yes.
On page 3, you used
Because
the.
the last two, it was with wings, and he had horns, big horns, and then the last dragon had no wings, and he also had big horns. So I'd say yes.
So what is your prediction? Use the class results to show shown above to complete the following table. So baby dragons with wings and without wings be equally likely to have big horns. Think about it. If we're saying that each of these has the same amount, 1 out of 4, with the more chance and more rolls you do, the closer you get to wings or no wings, right? Having big horns or small horns, right? So in this case, this this creature, this baby dragon would have no wings, but it would have small horns. This baby dragon would have no wings, but big horns. This baby dragons would have wings, big wings, would have wings, but it would have small horns. And this one would be with wings and with big horns, correct? So the ones with wings would have a 50% chance of having big horns. And the ones without wings would have a 50% chance of having big horns. You remember us doing that earlier?
Yeah.
So what fraction do you think of baby dragons with wings? What fraction do you think would have big horns? You said it. 50% is correct. Baby dragons without wings, what fraction do you think would have big horns? Half. 50%. That's correct. So 50% each. It's just that simple. Now, do your results match the prediction? Sure, I think they would. If we had enough data, if we had enough trials, they would come close. Do you agree with that assessment? Are those words fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
This example illustrates the law of independent assortment, which states that if two genes are on 2 different chromosomes, then the alleles for these genes separate independently of each other during the formation of eggs and sperm. Therefore, the traits determined by these 2 genes are inherited independently. For example, the wing gene and the horn gene are located on different chromosomes, so they are inherited independently. The genes on the different chromosomes inherit independently of each other because each pair of homologous chromosomes lines up independently of the others when the chromosomes line up in the center of the cell near the beginning of the first meiotic division. Consequently, when the pairs of homologous chromosomes separate during the first meiotic division, the chromosome that has this let's move on. The chromosome that has an H allele will equally likely end up in the same egg as the chromosome that has a big W allele, and with the chromosome that has a little w allele. So there's an equal chance of that separation, like we just drew, we discussed it, we drew it out, we did right? I think we've been pounded in, this has been pounded in our heads at this point, that they're going to independently assort. To illustrate the law of independent assortment applies to humans considering inheritance of recessive alleles for sickle cell anemia. So sickle cell is a recessive allele, and it's located on chromosome number 11. And the SRY gene is located on the Y chromosome. The SRY gene results in male development. So in order to be a male, you have to have the SRY gene, and it has to be on the Y chromosome. You only get SRY if you get a Y chromosome, right? So it's a little trickier because not everybody gets a Y chromosome. Only the males get the Y chromosome, which explains why if you have the SRY gene, you're a male. So this explains why a person who has both X and Y chromosomes in each cell is a male. A person with X chromosomes and no Y chromosome is a female. Now, male and female, those are genders, and things are a lot more complicated than that. I don't want anybody leaving here thinking that science says that if you have a Y, you're a male, or if you have a SRY gene, you're a male. That's only the beginning. It's only the first step to being a male, and it's not always true. So the relationship between gender roles in society, gender as it's described biochemically and genetically, it's much more complicated than we're presenting in this activity. Is that clear?
Yeah.
All right. So let's not get things confused. I'm not. Where no one in here is trying to say that this defines a gender. It doesn't. But it is an important aspect of the male genders to have that SRY gene. So this explains why a person has X chromosome. Okay, we said that. Suppose your father and mother are both heterozygous for the allele for sickle cell. So mom and dad are big S, little s. The following Punnett square shows the inheritance of sickle cell and SRY genes with X representing the X chromosome and SRY gene, and Y representing the Y chromosome, which does have an SRY gene. Complete the Punnett square. So the X has no SRY gene. The Y has an SRY gene. Obviously, only mom has a Y to give. Does that make sense? I mean, only dad has a Y to give. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Dad also has an X. Remember, dad also has an X, and there's two copies because he can give it X with an S for a big S meaning not sickle cell, little s meaning sickle cell gene, right? So if we did you guys do this Punnett square already?
I did. I can answer the questions too.
Oh, good. So let me just go ahead and quickly do it. Am I doing it right? Catch me if I did anything wrong.
Yeah, this is also one of the ones with the letters that threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, it's another one of those. I don't think they should use S's or W's, man. There's a couple more letters that really annoy me, but even X's can be hard, but it's a little easier with an X. Especially when you're talking about X versus Y. Did you get these results, Kirsten?
Yeah. Mr. Mendoza?
Yeah.
Can you reshare your screen? I just joined your call because nobody's in other call.
Where'd everybody go?
I don't know. They said that you said we could leave at 2:50, but I